Hey guys, this is Random with Jay, back at it again with Pokemon content on YouTube. Today I'll be doing top 10 favorite Pokemon since there isn't enough of those on YouTube already. One way my list will stand out from the others is that even though I said top 10, the list will probably contain up to 24 Pokemon since I have a thing with duality and grouping things in pairs or threes or whole groups of things. It won't make too much sense now, but you guys will see what I mean when I list them out. And that's enough with the introduction. Let's get right into it. Also, these are Digimon jumping around. I know they're not Pokemon, but you guys feel free to comment about it. Interaction is good. Number 10, Meowth Squad. Meowth was never too interesting of a Pokemon for me growing up. Yeah, sure, he was part of Team Rocket and he could talk, but besides that, the design was lacking and he didn't have much going on for him. But along with the release of Gen 7 and regional forms, my opinion on Meowth changed slightly. Now we have two Meowth, one Cantonian, one Alolan, and they play off each other pretty well. But it wasn't enough for me to like it too much. This all changed when Gen 8 came out with Galarian Meowth and Gigantamax Meowth. Now we're talking. I like the idea of this one species of Pokemon with so many different variants, depending on where they live, and the inclusion of Gigantamax Meowth rounds it all off. This is a case where I like these Pokemon as a group, but not each of them individually. It's hard for me to list them in order in case you guys say it's cheating that I included multiple forms in one entry, but I will throw up a tier list at the end of each to show how much I like each individual Pokemon. Number 9, Pikachu Family. Pikachu is the mascot for Pokemon. Some could argue that Charizard is also one, but he'll come later. Like many others, I do find Pikachu cute and charming, and I really like Ash's Pikachu in the show, but the reason why I included Pikachu in this list is because he has a lot of cousins, aka Pikachu clones. Gen 2 Pichu, Gen 3 Plosominon, Gen 4 Pachirisu, Gen 5 Mimoga, 6 Dedenne, 7 Togedemaru, and Gen 8 Morpeko. Also, I like to add Mimikyu here as well from Gen 7. As a kid, I never thought much of these electric rats, but as I grew older, I came to appreciate these Pikachu knockoffs, as some might call them, for being just that, knockoffs. Not too much is different between each of them, which makes them generally boring, but they each have a slight gimmick differences to tell them apart. I think of them like Super Sentai or Power Rangers. Each member is basically the same, but each of them has unique personality quirk or different weapons that sets them apart from others. Number 8, Eevee Family. Why I like Eevee and its evolutions is literally almost the same as why I like Pikachu Family. But unlike Pikachu, where a Pikachu clone is guaranteed with each release of new generations, evolutions are not. It just mixes things up by keeping me on my toes, whether we will be getting another evolution or not. If Pikachu Family is like Super Sentai, Eevee Fam is like a shonen protagonist for me, in the sense that Eevee has all these hidden potentials that he can tap into and become whatever he wants, or whatever the trainer wants the Eevee to become. In my playthrough of Soul Silver several years back, I had a full team of evolutions, but I remember being upset because I could not have all of them on my team. This was in Gen 4, meaning there were 7 different evolutions at the time, which meant that I had to leave one behind. I don't exactly recall which one wasn't on my team, but I definitely remember being upset about it for a good long while. Number 7, Infernape and Greninja. Infernape and Greninja are just two really cool looking Pokemon. Honestly, from here on out, it's gonna be a bit difficult for me to explain why I like the Pokemon that I do, especially these two, since I never really used them on my team or anything. In Platinum, my first starter was Piplup, then Turtwig, and in Y, it was Chespin. But my brain just tells me that design-wise, these two look good together. If I were to try to put it into words as to why I think Infernape and Greninja goes well together, it's because my obsession with duality. One is fire, one is water. Infernape has this Chinese warrior vibe since he's based on Sun Wukong, while Greninja has this Japanese ninja vibe going on. And once again, the duality between a warrior who fights fair and stands for justice and one who hides in the dark, resorting to trickery. Number 6, Charizard Family. Whenever I played Fire Red or Leaf Green, my starter choice was always Charizard. But as I grew older, I started liking Blastoise also, because in real life I became obsessed with Tauruses, which meant I liked 2 out of the 3 starters from Gen 1, which also meant that my brain told me that I needed to like the third one to make it a perfect group. So for the longest time, I didn't have a favorite among Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur. But once again, this slightly changed with the introduction of Mega Evolution, with Mega Charizard X and Mega Charizard Y. The introduction of these two was enough for them to shoot up to my favorite Pokemon list, but it bothered me to no end that while X got a color change and cool blue flame, all Y got was some, I don't know what to call it, but some elongation of the tips. Due to this, my brain told me that these two are not equal in the sense that they did not receive equal treatment, which meant I cannot group them together, despite it coming out together. This repeated once again with the release of Gigantamax Charizard, where my brain told me that, hey, Gigantamax Charizard is orange, like base Charizard and Mega Charizard Y, so now Mega Charizard X is left out. But this time, I forced myself to stop thinking in this way and convinced myself that I really, really like the entire Charizard family, despite it not being equal or anything of the sort, just because it was too cool not to like it. Number 5. Noivern and Garchomp. This is one of the newest pair that I started liking. Garchomp is just an overall cool Pokemon that I liked since I started playing Pokemon games back in Gen 4, and with the release of Gen 5 and Hexorus, I thought that these two were a perfect duo. Two super cool looking bipedal dragons with face thingies on their heads, but as years went on, I came to dislike Hexorus for its tiny narrow head. It was really off-putting for me, so I needed a replacement for Hexorus, and that was Noivern. I always liked Noivern also. I thought that Noibat was the cutest Pokemon ever, and when I first started to dabble in shiny hunting in Ultra Sun, Noivern is the second Pokemon that I have hunted for and got a shiny within an hour. Also, the idea of these two dragons, one flying type that can fly, and one ground type that can, I don't know, stay on the ground or like dig into the earth, just sounds really cool to me. Number 4. Luxray and Talonflame. Luxray was, of course, on my team when I played through Platinum, and Talonflame was, of course, on my team on Y. For these two, they're both fantastically designed Pokemon that I liked individually, but once again, duality. You know how in media, fire and water is always showcased to be the opposite of each other? But in my humble opinion, fire and lightning makes more sense. In the case of fire and water, one clearly has an advantage over the other, which once again is not fair. But in the case of fire and lightning, I don't think one has a clear advantage over the other. Just look at Naruto and Sasuke. Red flame, blue lightning. It's just aesthetically beautiful. Also, I'm pretty sure they are both plasma, the fourth state of matter, but don't quote me on that. Now back to Luxray and Talonflame. I like the elemental duality, and on top of that, they're both based on top predators, lynx, lion for Luxray and falcon/eagle for Talonflame, and I really much enjoy the idea of pairing up the king of the jungle and the king of the sky. Number 3. Cofagrigus and Runaways. Being completely honest, I never played any of the Gen 5 games. After playing Gen 4, I went back to Gen 1, 2, 3, then skipped 5 and 6, and got back into Pokemon with the release of Ultra Sun. Due to this, the fact that Gen 5 Pokemon are literally never in any of the other games, I never realized how many cool Pokemon are from Gen 5. My absolute two favorite from this gen is Chandelure and Cofagrigus for their design. But I never thought to pair these up together since in my mind they just don't fit. But once Gen 8 rolled around with Galarian Yamask and its split evolution, Runaways, I was all for it. I thought that the two Yamasks were the cutest thing ever, sorry Noibat, and its evolutions were equally as amazing. I really dig the whole motif of ghosts embodying a coffin or a runestone, making it come to life. Number 2. Scorch and Galvantula. A couple months ago, I picked up a Switch Lite and Pokemon Sword and played through it, and I thought it was greatest thing ever. The MVP on my team was my Scorch with Fire Lash and Thunderfang, and it was invincible. It quickly became one of my favorite Pokemon, and the only problem there was that I could not pair it with anything else. In my brain, if you're not paired, then you don't deserve to be on one of my favorites. I know it's weird. I don't quite understand it either, but it's just how it works. Vikavolt was a good candidate, but I didn't really like it or anything. And Arachnid was also a good candidate, but I really don't like its head. Then one day, it was like, bam, let's take Electric type from Vikavolt and Spiderness from Arachnid. And you get Galvantula. Like I mentioned before, Gen 5 take up really small corner of my brain, so it took me a while to realize how perfect it is to pair up Centiskorch and Galvantula. Once again, the fire and lightning duality, but on top of that, centipedes and tarantulas are both types of arachnids that I have owned or still own to this day as pets. So adding all these factors together, in my mind, they're meant to be. Before we get to number 1, I like to rapid fire some honorable mentions that didn't make to the list. The two Ninetales, they're great. One fire, one ice, once again, elemental duality. But why they're not on my list is because the faces are too different in my opinion. Rapidash and Zebstrika, fire lightning duality, but it's not fair that Rapidash gets a regional form while Zebstrika doesn't. The 5 Regibros, Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regidrago, Regieleki, and Daddy Regi, Regigigas. I really like them as a group, but I have no personal connection to them whatsoever. Heracross and Pinsir, I'm really into all types of beetles, especially stag and rhinoceros beetles. They also got megas together, but their eyes are too different. And lastly, Tortoise fam. As I mentioned earlier, tortoises are my favorite animals, and it translates into Pokemon. Blastoise line, Torkoal, Caracosta line, Torterra line, Turtonator, and Dreadnought line. But once again, not fair, in the sense that 2 gets Gigantamax, 2 are starters, 1 is fossil, and 2 are single evolution lines. I would like them more if each one of them had their own gimmicks. But yeah. Also, recently I've been thinking Torterra with Avalugg, like lush green continent and barren ice continent, but I really don't like the design of Avalugg. Number 1, Mega Lucario and Zeraora. Lucario was my favorite Pokemon since over 10 years ago. This changed with the release of Mega Lucario, and that replaced regular Lucario as my favorite. The problem was that there was no Pokemon that matched the coolness of Mega Lucario. Seemed like the Pokemon team was pushing Mega Lucario and Mega Blaziken, but that didn't really seem right with me since Blaziken belonged with the 2 other Gen 3 starters. Despite this, Mega Lucario was sitting at the top of my list, despite my brain telling me that he does not deserve that spot, since he's not grouped together. This changed when they revealed the new mythical Pokemon for Gen 7, Zeraora. It was perfect. Mega Lucario was based on canines and Zeraora was based on felines. One has Mega, one's a mythical, giving it a duality, and both of them are humanoid animals. Some might assume that I'm a furry based on this, but I assure you I'm not. I just really like their designs and I think they're really cool. And that's it. That's it for now. For most of them, I like them for their cool designs or because they look cool together with another Pokemon. But that's just how my brain works. I'll see you guys in another video. Subscribe, like, and check out these other videos that I definitely worked really hard on. I'll appreciate it if you guys go check it out. Some are not Pokemon, some are Digimon, and there's other things thrown in there, but check it out and subscribe. Thanks, guys.